Welcome to this video. In this video I would like to show you a very great functionality within modern ABAP, so within inline declarations. In case you're using ABAP 7.40 SP2, you are able to use this great functionality of the inline declarations. If you have an older version of ABAP, so before 7.40 SP2, then you're not able to use inline decorations, but yeah, I think you should be able to use inline decorations. And in this video I would like to explain you why you should inline declarations within ABAP. Here right now we can see just a demo program within the ABAP editor, so within the transaction code SE38, and here we can see that at the beginning I have declared a variable. It's called itab for internal table, and it has the type of the scar. This is a table. By a double click I can move over to the ABAP dictionary, so the SE11, so regarding the airlines. And if I move back, then I can also see that this is a table of this airline table. Yeah, and here right now I can see that I'm now selecting the information of this table and transferring the selected results, the selected entries within this internal table. And then last but not least, I am displaying the selected entries within of this internal table, and for that I'm using this class. And then once I execute this program, I can see the results. So all the airlines are selected and the entries are displayed within here. And yeah, as mentioned, you can do it a little smarter, I think easier within inline declarations. And what is meant by that? So here this is working perfectly fine, but I think it can be made easier. So if I comment this out, then you're able to use inline declarations, and to do this you have to use the word data. And if you're using it, for example, within a select statement, then you have to use the @ sign at the beginning, and then you just type in data, and then with parentheses you include the name of the variable that you would like to inline declare directly within the usage. So if I use the pretty printer and then the syntax check, then this works also based on the syntax perfectly fine. And now I activate it, and now I execute this as well, and we can see that it is still working perfectly fine, because here right now within the add data statement, I'm directly inline declaring this variable and using it directly, because now I would like to select every component of this table and saving it into the inline declared internal table variable. And you can see that this has a great functionality, because based on the context it directly sees what is the table, the needed table, and does this automatically for you. So for example, if I set a breakpoint and go into this program once again, then we can see if I would like to use it. This has a standard table, so this is the type of a standard table, and if I double click I can see all the entries within here. So I going one step back and then I execute it once again, so this is perfectly fine. So, and yeah, it saves you a lot of time. It is easier, but I will go through the advantages and the disadvantages in a couple of seconds as well. So for example, what you also can do, there are a couple of use cases. So for example, what you can do is you can directly use data, and then for example, or just declare a variable word and then save it. For example, this is a test. So here right now I also use the inline declaration data and then within parentheses the variable name and directly save the content of this variable within this line directly. And then, for example, if I want to, I can print it out using the pretty printer, the syntax check, and then I activate it and then see what is the result. So this is working as well perfectly fine. And if we set a breakpoint once again and then go into the debugger to see now what is the type, then it can see that it automatically uses the needed type. So here it's the character type of a length of 14, so the needed length of 14. And yeah, I think this is kind of like useful because you don't have to explicitly mention the type. If you, for example, would like to use the inline declaration within field symbols, then you can do this as well. Here right now, I would like to select all the entries from the table echo and transfers into the table, and now I'm using the inline declaration, for example this one where equals to this user, and then I would like to loop at so, and here I can directly use as well the field symbol. So if you would like to use the field symbol instead of data, then you can do this as well. But within here, you have to use just field symbol without an at. And yeah, now it's working as well. And you can work with the field symbol, especially, for example, here you can just whatever you like to. So and then just print it out, whatever you like to. I'm not aware if there is any purchase order created by myself, but just test this right now. So I execute this. Okay, there isn't any. I have to activate it as well. So I just test this once again. Okay, there isn't any, but I think there aren't so much purchase order in my system. So just do this. You shouldn't do this in your productive system, but just for test purposes, I would like to see this. And now we can see, yeah, that it has succeeded successfully. And now you can work with this as well. So what are the advantages of inline declaration? So why should you use the inline declaration within ABAP? As I mentioned from beginning to ABAP 7.40 SP2, you're able to use inline declaration, and yeah, it has a lot of advantages, a lot of benefits. I would like to explain you in more detail right now. First of all, I think the most obvious reason is that you don't need to declare the variable explicitly. So normally in previous versions at the top of your program, you declared a lot of variables, and then you are able to use those variables and later on within the program. But here and now, you don't need to declare the variables at the beginning explicitly. Then a second benefit is that you don't need to know the type. In previous versions, you had first of all look up the type in the ABAP dictionary. So within the SE11, look up the type and then use it, the declaration at the beginning. And here right now, it will be automatically used for you. So you don't need to declare or type in the type. You don't need to know the type. And then there is one also advantage that the inline declared variables, they don't have to go through the coding during runtime, especially if you're using some conditions, so ifs and else, then there is a slightly high chance that not all of your inline declared variables will be used, because just if you have inline declared some variables within the if statement and this if statement won't be reached, then of course your variables won't be declared. You have, of course, make to be sure that your in case you're using your inline declared variables later on, that the inline declared or the variables will be definitely inline declared. So that is still the case, that your variables have to be declared, but it saves you some performance if you are just using a variable for one specific use case within the if statement. And of course, if the if statement won't be met, if won't be reached, then the variable won't be declared. Saves you performance, saves you memory. Then if you double click on the inline declared variable, you see its usage directly, where it will be used. Yeah, it's also a great advantage. Of course, guys, there are a couple of disadvantages as well, and one of the biggest disadvantage, I think, is that the inline declared variables are not at the beginning of the program. So yeah, I think for some structure purposes, to get a overview of the program, you normally declared your variables at the beginning, and then you directly see what kind of variables will be used within the program. And if you don't use this, so if you don't declare your variables at the beginning, then it makes it a bit harder to read your code, because then you have to go through the code, what kind of variables are being used. So yeah, I think this is really great disadvantage you still have to be aware of. And the second disadvantage, in my opinion, is that you don't immediately see the type. So if you're, for example, using the inline declarations when calling a function module, then you have to go through the function module and see what kind of types are being used within the parameters, because based on the inline declaration, you can't see the type. So you have to really go through the code and see what is the type in case you're using it later on. So this is also a great or a big disadvantage you have to be aware of. And as mentioned here once again, of course, guys, inline declarations have a bunch of advantages, have a bunch of disadvantages. In my opinion, you should definitely use the inline declarations if it makes sense. So, and when does it make sense? So I prefer still the data declarations at the beginning, but in case you are selecting some information, in case you are looping some information or stuff like that, so you just need those informations within the loop, for example, then there is no reason against using inline declarations. You should use inline declarations because yeah, it saves you time, it makes it faster for you to program. And in case you're just using it within the loop, then it's also, in my opinion, easy to read. So I would now like to go your opinion about inline declarations. What is your opinion about it? Are you using it? Are you not using it? Write it please in the comment, and please subscribe this YouTube channel to never miss great upcoming videos. Thank you so much, and then see you in the next video.